Hey, hi everyone. Very good afternoon, and welcome to this Fox IT exclusive webinar regarding 10 things that every IT professional should know about business relationship management. We are really delighted to have you as part of the panel, and uh, and we are excited to conduct this webinar to kind of spread awareness regarding the knowledge and the competencies and the process and the discipline of business relationship management. The key purpose of conducting this webinar is to give a glimpse of what business relationship management is all about and how it impacts IT professionals at different levels, right? So I think that's what the purpose of this webinar is. And over the next 30 to 45 minutes, we'll be talking about different elements of business relationship management in terms of what exactly it is all about, what it is not, a very important part. I think there are a lot of myths in the industry which talk about what is business relationship management and what is not. So we'll try to demystify certain myths as well as a part of this webinar. We'll also talk about the need of business relationship management, especially in the digital transformation era, and why there's certainly an upsurge of business relationship management skills in the industry. We'll also talk about the difference between BRM as a role or a capability and how it impacts and affects an organization. We'll also be talking about some of the key concepts of business relationship management discipline, such as House of BRM, the business provider maturity model. We'll also talk about the key competencies that an IT professional should look forward to developing uh, as as a BRM professional if they want to pursue their career path in the business relationship management domain. Right. Last but not the least, I think one of the key critical content discussion would be revolving around what are the resources available uh, across the globe which will help you to kind of upskill your competency range in the domain of business relationship management. So once again, on behalf of Fox IT, I would like to welcome all of you for this BRM webinar, and I'm sure you'll find some interesting stuff at the end of the webinar. And please feel free to ask any questions that you might have with regards to the domain during the webinar or post the webinar session as well. I'll share our credentials with you in terms of our contact coordinates, and feel free to contact us if you need any additional input information regarding uh, the webinar and its contents. Yeah. Once again, a very good afternoon and welcome to the webinar. Yeah. So let's get started. So if you look at it, uh, uh, BRM as a concept is not a very new concept. I think if you look at the business relationship management per se, I think the business relationship management concept has been there for almost more than 2.5 decades in the IT industry, specifically, if I can talk about, right. But off late, with the convergence of or with the emergence of digital transformation, with the emergence of strong need of business and IT working together, it has started gaining a lot of momentum and focus in the industry. And if you look at the history and the background of business relationship management, business relationship management was very emphatically mentioned in ITIL version 2 as one of the books called Business Perspective of IT, specifically talked about how listening, communication, and strong alignment and relationship between the business function and the IT function. Also, as you move forward, ISO 20000, 2005 also had one of the processes named as business relationship management, uh, and it spoke about the relevance of customer satisfaction, complaint management, strong alignment between business and IT function from an ISO 20000 conformance perspective as well. Also, COBIT has COBIT 4, be it COBIT 4.1, COBIT 5, have strongly alluded to the concept of business relationship management in their scheme of things. So if you look at the business relationship management concept, it's to be very honest, it's quite an old concept, but the focus is definitely much more higher or much more stronger in the era of digital transformation is what we see as a consulting firm, right? So typically in 2013, a, a dedicated non-profit organization called Business Relationship Management Institute was formed in the US, which primarily focused on the short form for that is BRMI or BRM Institute, was formed in the US, which primarily dedicated all its research and study to codifying the best practices of business relationship management. Yeah. So the concept of business relationship management from a deeper and detailed focus was kind of initiated by this body called Business Relationship Management Institute, and it kind of looked at various frameworks available that were available at that point of time, be it ITIL, be it COBIT, be it the standards like ISO 20000 or ISO 13500, which is the corporate governance for IT standard, and they looked at the areas and say where how we can add more value to this relationship uh, area or domain between the business and IT function so that together they can create value for the end consumers. And this study and this research of global experts, which BRMI or BRM Institute kind of ventured into, resulted in a body of knowledge which is called as BRMI body of knowledge. Yeah, this BRMI body of knowledge is the body of knowledge which actually kind of kind of gave a detailed focus towards the domain of business relationship management. Yeah, yeah. So if you look at from that angle, I think the business relationship management uh, with the formation of BRM Institute and with the codifying of BRM best practices and relationship management best practices, started gaining a lot of knowledge, traction in North America and other regions of the world as well, right? So uh, the entire content that we'll be discussing in this webinar would be a kind of content kind of alluding to the Business Relationship Management Institute body of knowledge, uh, books, and our consulting experience based on serving multiple customers across the globe and looking at the relationship between business and IT function from the relationship management focus. Yeah, good. So I think before we start the webinar again, the key idea is that at the end of the webinar, you have 10 key takeaways as part of the webinar. The most important takeaway for sure, and this is a question that we get a lot whenever we are speaking any speaking engagement or any public forum or when we are conducting workshops, right? Uh, when we're trying to conduct workshops and consulting engagements revolving around what is business relationship management. I think we we don't know fundamentally what business relationship management is all about. We understand that it is something between the business and IT function, but what exactly it is. So why don't we start by answering that fundamental question first? And I think, as they say, that a picture is more than 1,000 words. I think most of the slides that we have and most of the content is very pictorial in nature, barring one or two slides. So that will help you to kind of get the crux of the message in a very pictorial and visual way. I hope you'll appreciate that. Yeah. So if you look at it, this picture that you see over here, in a sense, kind of describes what business relationship management is all about, right? Although the webinar is titled as 10 things that every IT professional should know about business relationship management. To be honest, BRM concepts are equally applicable to the HR functions, to the finance functions, as they are applicable to the IT function. The business relationship management function can be applied in any department or amongst any internal provider organization, be it administration, be it procurement, be it IT, be it HR, be it finance, right? Although our discussion is revolving more from an IT per se, being an IT consulting firm, we want to kind of first uh, get the audience to know more about the impact of business relationship on the IT function, and then probably the concepts and the principles are applicable across any internal provided department for that matter. Yeah. So if you look at it, I think what you see over here is our four departments kind of converging together, right? And that's what, to be very honest, BRM is all about. BRM is all about convergence. Convergence means two or things coming together for a common goal, right? And the common goal over here is end customer value. Yeah. So if you look at the objective of, or what business relationship management is all about, one word that I would request to remember is that BRM is nothing but something about convergence, or everything about convergence is the better way to put it. Um, if you look at the technical definition of business relationship management as a discipline, so business relationship management consists of the knowledge, skills, behaviors that foster a productive relationship between an IT service organization and their business partners. So again, it's primarily the way it's more of a mindset on the way IT function and their internal business partners work together ultimately to deliver customer value, right? A very key point over here is it's a productive relationship. That means there's no blame game as such, which is what a typical, uh, if I can use typical pain area in a typical business IT relationship, is that there's a lot of blame game that is happening between business and IT. But over here, since the focus is more towards the convergence between two departments coming together and then serving value or creating value for the end customer of the enterprise. Over here, the entire focus is on making sure what processes, what tools, what techniques, what organization structures, what roles we should define in an organization that fosters productive relationship between the business and the IT function. Yeah. So again, the key takeaway from this particular uh, definition would be that business relationship management is ultimately about convergence between business partners and internal IT providers, IT service providers, right? Again, the objective is how they can come together and work together a common goal of delivering customer value, which can be in terms of uh, satisfying a customer or increasing the profit share or the growth of the organization or the enterprise that they're working for. Yeah. Now, a lot of times when we conduct or when we speak about BRM, there are a lot of myths in the industry that we would like to also address as a part of this session, right? So if you look at it, I think this slide is aptly titled as what business relationship management is not and what it is. So I think let's try to demystify some of the myths that are there in the BRM landscape and see how what is the right connotation and the understanding towards BRM based on the BRMI body of BRM Institute body of knowledge and our consulting experience, and how the industry is perceiving it to a certain extent in a slightly different, or if I can use a very strong word, slightly incorrect fashion. Yeah. So the first is aligning IT service and functions. So BRM is all about aligning IT service functions to business, right? I think if you speak to any decision maker from an IT per se, I think their war cry for ages have been that we have to make sure that our IT services are aligned to our business services, right? It's kind of two parallel lines uh, walking together. One is business, and one is IT. They never meet together, but they keep on traveling together, right? They never converge. Whereas if you look at the other slide that we just covered, what is business relationship management, we did mention that the one of the key reasons why organizations are implementing business relationship management is a capability, or as a process or as a role, is to ensure that there is a strong convergence between business and IT. The problem with alignment was that alignment was to a certain extent reactive in nature, right? So I think whatever business wants, we'll align ourselves. So in a nutshell, IT was saying that whatever business wants, we'll react positively to it. Although the intention is positive, but the action to a certain extent is still reactive. Now, this is a myth, and I think as organizations are adopting BRM across the globe, they are realizing that BRM is not about aligning IT services, but the key benefit of that is that the BRM brings along convergence between business and IT functions, right? I think now in the era of digital transformation, right? I think the CIOs are and then the IT function is involved from day one in the annual strategic planning exercise or the business capability road mapping from day one, rather than being pushed a document said that please get this done as an application or as a user story. And this is a shift that when you adopt BRM as a capability becomes much more smoother because you're able to talk, articulate, and get into the shoes of business from day one as an IT function. So you're not behaving like an order taker, but more like a strategic partner from day one, making sure that you understand the business goals and objectives from day one. And then do you do your IT capability road mapping at the back end, making sure that the business strategy is articulated well proactively in the IT strategy, especially in the digital transformation era where IT is acting as a very strategic enabler, or a lever to make sure that the enterprise achieves market share, business intelligence, and business growth. It becomes imperative that we move from the old adage of aligning IT with business to the new need of the hour, which is how IT and business can converge together, right? The second myth in the industry is that uh, okay, business relationship management is all about suits. People wearing suits, going to the customer and saying that we are there for you, we are customer obsessed, and blah blah blah, right? All about lip service, right? No, I think it's not only the words which will help you to adopt and leverage the benefit of BRM capability. The BRM capability is more of a mindset, right? I think organizations which have a PRM mindset tend to kind of empathize with the business, strategize with the business, and then execute with the business in order of business priorities to create enterprise value at the end of the hour. So it's not just lip service and saying that okay, I have a person for you who will take care of all your queries. It's the entire ecosystem or the activities which are visible and invisible at the back end, which comes together as a capability to make sure that the business function and the internal provider domain on the business partners are working together as converged partners with the enterprise value and customer value at the end of the picture. Yeah. The third myth is that it is only meant for external service provider. So when we kind of propagate the concept of business relationship management as a capability or as a role uh, within an internal service provider organization, the quick answer that we normally get is, oh, it's not meant for us, right? We are doing vendor management at the back end. The vendor guy is doing that business relationship management with us, right? So I think that's again a myth. Business relationship management is not something which is only meant for external service providers. Business relationship management concept is equally meant for internal service providers to a certain extent, if I can say so, based on our experience or personal experience of mine. What I have seen is that the business relationship management augurs, or the need of business relationship management internal service provider environments is much more higher. The prime reason behind it is that the relationship between the internal provider and the business partner is taken for granted, right? And everything is kind of very ambiguously defined. There are no key parameters to kind of look at the relationship value itself and the relationship index itself and how it is spanning across the enterprise. So this is meant for both internal and external service providers, primarily more for internal service providers, to make sure that there's someone in the enterprise who is focusing on the growth and the maturity of the relationship that exists between the IT provider internal IT provider and the business function. As we move forward, we'll talk about a relationship maturity index, which is a very interesting concept of business relationship management body of knowledge, which talks about what are the various levels of relationship that might exist between an internal IT provider function or internal HR function for that matter with their internal business partners. Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see what that talks about, and I think that is one of the key takeaways I would request you to focus on when we discuss that slide. Yeah. The third is that if you are meeting our service level agreements, right, that means that we are doing good BRM, or I think we are doing good BRM, and that means our customer is happy, whether we meet them, whether we don't meet them, whether we are interested or not. I think that is perfectly fine. But if you look at it, right, I think if you look at the concept of BRM is much beyond the concept of service level agreements. If I can say so, BRM is more about excuse me, BRM is more about delivering and exceeding value. So if I can coin a word, and if I have the liberty to do that, I'll call it that it's primarily more focused on value level agreements, or to a certain extent, XLAs, customer experience level agreements. It's all about how we come together and go beyond the matrix and measurement of just SLAs. I'm not saying that, I'm not indicating that SLAs are not important. SLAs are very important. Without a doubt, SLAs are very important. But at the same time, we have to go beyond the SLA measurement and matrix to showcase our value and say that if we are meeting the SLAs, we are doing a good job. BRM is all about exceeding the targets of the SLA, and thinking more in terms of what value we are providing, both quantifiable as well as qualitative value that we are creating for our internal business partners and ultimately for our end consumers and customers. Yeah, so it's all about delivering and exceeding value, not only limiting our belief to meeting the SLAs itself, right? The other myth in the industry is that if you are doing BRM, uh, if you want to be an effective order taking function, that means that we just want to make sure that whatever business wants and we deliver. I think we should adopt BRM to a certain extent, because then we can align ourselves to business. There will be a person who will drive the business requirements, and so forth. The objective of BRM is not to become an effective order taking function. Yeah, the objective of, or the end vision of becoming a BRM is that IT function being perceived as a strategic partner rather than an order taking function which just gets the things done, right? So it's very critical that when an IT function wants to be perceived as a strategic partner, right? Some of the best practices that are documented in the BRM body of knowledge, and when they're trying to build the BRM capability, it will definitely help them out to kind of think of how they can become a strategic partner. And again, it starts with the mindset of being a strategic partner rather than being an order taker, right? Being an order taker is very simple. We meet business and we say, okay, this is, oh, you want this application to be developed, we'll develop that, right? Now that's thinking more in terms of being an order taker and getting the code ready, and what I call in IT, the IT ostrich syndrome, just looking into the code and getting the functionality delivered. As a part of as being a strategic partner basically means helping business grow, and helping them achieve their external outcomes, sometimes in a pull mode and sometimes in a push mode. What I mean by a push mode is, as a strategic partner, you should be leveraging upon technology and see how technology can provide possible solutions to the business pain areas for the present and for the future. Or what are the gain areas that technology can cater to, which will help business to gain more growth, profit share, and business intelligence, which will help business to defeat its competitors in the longer run. Right? That's the difference between being an inward-looking IT function to an outward-looking strategic partner, which is not only looking at the internal business partners and the customers, but looking at the entire industry and the consumer behavior, and then advising the business function or business partners on which technology to leverage, which technology to leverage for market share growth, for defeating the competition, or for higher profitability, or for cost optimization for that matter. Yeah. Again, it's an inward versus outward looking focus. Yeah. Uh, so business relationship is to be happy being an internal service provider. As mentioned earlier, I think if you are adopting the BRM capability, and organizations which have formally adopted the BRM capability, their yardsticks of measurement are completely different from a typical organization which wants to be called as a service provider, right? Uh, the objective of BRM capability is to make sure that we are working hands in glove with our business from day one of the strategy planning piece and execution piece, and being one of the best indispensable strategic partner is the vision statement for most of the organizations that have kind of seen the benefit and are in the journey of adopting BRN capabilities in the organization. So it's a different yardstick altogether, right? The higher you aim, the better you have chance of reaching the star. The same is true. Some organizations are very happy being a service provider, becoming more of an order taker organization, just getting what business wants and delivering that. On the other hand, the leading organizations which are really doing well, and are perceived as strategic partner, are indispensable strategic business units, are the ones which are working along with business, advising business in both push and pull mode on what will take them to the next level. And that's what the objective of digital transformation is, right? How we can use digital technologies to enable business growth and market share. Yeah. So it's also a kind of a paradigm shift from keeping IT running to enabling business customers win by consistent value delivery. I think one of the key challenges, if you spoke to any of the CIOs earlier, and still it is to a certain extent, is to make sure that keeping the lights on, the IT is up and running, and especially during business hours now, and which is 24 cross 7 now. But if you look at BRM, I think BRM is way beyond keeping IT running. That doesn't mean that they do not focus on that. They definitely focus on that. Organizations which are adopting BRM definitely make sure that the IT shop is up and running. But again, it's up and running in the right direction, and along with the right business partners and the right strategy to make sure that consistent delivery of value is being provisioned by the internal providers. Yeah. Again, it's a paradigm shift from being a service focused organization to being a value focused organization. Typically, if you look at it in most of the enterprises, the focus is that the service should be up and running, right? And I think this is my job. 99% uptime, 100% uptime is what my key target is, and the application of the service should be up and running accordingly. That's also a focus of BRM. But again, the key focus is the right application being developed? Is the right portfolio of applications being developed which will help business to achieve its longer term vision and strategic goals? So the focus changes from slightly tactical level of service provisioning to a much more strategic level of value focused or value provisioning. That's the fundamental difference when you think of your organization being a service provider, and being a strategic partner or a trusted advisor. Yeah. So on the left hand side, this is what business relationship is not, and on the right hand side is this is what business relationship is all about. Yeah. I hope the slide was useful from a discussion perspective. So far we have discussed two things. One, we have discussed about what is the relationship. Three things. Sorry. What is the definition of business relationship management? We have also discussed what business relationship management is all about and what it is not. Now, I think why the need for BRM suddenly? Now, if you look at this chart primarily focuses on what is the need for business relationship management. Just give me a minute. I'll just move this slide. I'll move this to, yeah, so that you can see yeah, what is the need for business relationship management. So this is a quick industry perspective on what is the need for business relationship management. Uh, if you look at this chart, I think on the left hand side of things, this is the way. Uh, Sorry, please pardon me. Yeah. This is what the demand side of things are. This basically focuses on what business wants. And if you look at on the right hand side of things, this is where the supply side of things, which is what IT delivers. Now, if you look at it, this is a very interesting slide, which kind of shows the growth and the evolution of IT uh, providers over a period of time. Now, if you look at the early era of 1990s, if I can say so, yeah, I think the level one business needs at that point of time, or the business needs at that point of time was that I want basic systems to be in place, right? I think I want my business goal is to save from automation whatever we can. I want operational information about my business, and I want department wise orientation. So manufacturing, how much it is doing, sales, how much it is doing. It was much more of a silo based requirement that business focused on, right? And to meet the requirement, the supply side of things, IT focus was to, okay, if you want this, I'll make sure that they provide basic systems and services. So there'll be some basic applications available to you. There'll be infrastructure services available to you, which will help you to kind of make sure that you're able to send and receive and do some basic activities, right? Again, the focus was primarily on more on keeping the lights on, if I can say so, which we just discussed, right? More on alignment, improved service delivery, and the IT management fundamentals were there more towards the ITIL side of things, right? ITIL V2, if I can say so, right? Which came in 2001, right? On the other hand, as the business progressed, the business primary objective was that whatever I'm doing, kindly IT should support with me. So this is what I want. If something goes wrong, you should be there to make that application up and running again, or make that infrastructure element up and running again. On the other hand, the level two, as the industry uh, progressed and as the dependency between IT and business grew, gradually the needs of level two uh, requirements or demand changed. From level one business needs, now business started saying that, okay, I'm looking at a kind of an enterprise wide process redesign, right? So I'm looking at somewhere we can look at enterprise integration, as I've said. So I don't want only information about manufacturing department, but I want to know the relationship between manufacturing and sales, or production and sales, marketing and sales, finance and sales. So from a silo-based approach, which was there in level one, the focus shifted more towards the level two requirement, which was more of an enterprise integration kind of a demand from business, right? A consolidated management information system, which kind of gave an enterprise view from a department view. It kind of gave an enterprise view of the organization, right? Also, it kind of focused on how we can standardize to a certain extent uh, our infrastructure, our enterprise systems. So instead of 10 applications, can we make applications in a modular way which can speak to each other, can have an interface, and they can exchange information towards it. Yeah. So from the support side of it, now the key focus of business was more towards the if I can say so, more towards the improved side of it, right? Now, if you look at the IT level two focus, when business wanted this, and this is somewhere between 2000 to 2010 era, right? This is where IT started going for the shared service center, a kind of a shared service center where there was common infrastructure. The credibility was more towards SLAs and improvement instead of bespoke individual applications not speaking to each other. They focus on how the entire solution can work together. So from a technology perspective, it was more technology focused. This became more service focused. Yeah. And then a kind of an enterprise architecture which is common across and which is easily scalable became one of the key elements of IT focus. And it also kind of focused on the consumerization of IT as well. Yeah. Because IT was more pervasive in the organization rather than few departments of the organization. Everyone in the organization was using IT in some or the other way, right? Now, cut to a level three business requirement, which is primarily based on my individual experiences post the 2010 era, right? Where the entire focus is more towards external environment or external focus, right? So in the level three business needs, the focus of business was how IT can help me grow, right? And how can IT become a strategic enabler for me and help me grow in the market, or kind of defeat the competition? How IT can provide me to kind of ensure that we can meet the market requirements? How IT can make sure that IT can provide business intelligence to me, that helps me to define and kind of strategies which will help me defeat the competition, right? It also kind of focused on how quickly market information can be provided to me so that I can make intelligent decisions revolving around my strategies, right? This is where what we call the era of digital transformation. How IT can help me kind of do mergers and acquisitions seamlessly, right? How it can help me business integration with my customers, with my suppliers downstream. So the entire IT value chain became much more external looking, whereas in level one and level two, the focus was more towards the internal side of IT, whereas in level three business needs, the entire focus of business on is help me win in the external world or in the competitive world. And how did IT responded to that? And by having a continuous strategy and planning exercise, by converging between business and IT. And this is where the concept of BRM played a very important role, saying that this is a slightly reactive perspective towards between IT and business, where we say we'll align ourselves to you. But when the level three business needs came into play, successful IT organizations, by leveraging upon the BRM capability and the BRM mindset, said, if you want us to contribute effectively, we want to be there with you from day one when you're thinking of an idea or a business idea, and then we can suggest you much more effectively on how we can enable that ideation to move towards execution. And then business drivers like time to market also came into play, right? So I think these were, and then expand, and so the elasticity of cloud, that kind of stuff. And then again the embrace. So the entire idea was now how we can make our business more digital ready was the key focus area between IT and business partners. That was the key focus area of level three supply and demand equation, right? And the idea was more from improvement, we move towards more of business transformation and innovation. And then this is where digital transformation kind of becomes one of the key requirements as a part of these three levels. Again, it's a kind of a cumulative approach. If you are level three, that if you are a level three IT organization, what it means is that by default we are meeting the parameters of level two and level one. So it's not possible that we can be a level three without meeting the basic parameters of level two IT focus, which is to make sure that there's a scalable infrastructure in place, we have credibility to go for IT, and we are not meeting the IT requirements of keeping the lights on, which are basically level one requirements. And this is where the concept of strategic BRM comes into play. So the strategic BRM is more focused towards level three supply and balancing the demand and supply at the level three layer rather than at the level one or level two layer. Yeah. The other point that we come across is a difference between what is a BRM, a role or a capability, and it's a very interesting distinction. A lot of organizations that we kind of advise, or that we kind of when we are meeting the decision makers and the key stakeholders, we said, are you following BRM in your organization? And Pat comes to reply, yeah, we have a BRM role, we have a designated BRM who is playing this role of business relationship manager. That means we are following BRM. Now there's a difference between BRM role and capability, and let's discuss that in this slide in detail. So first of all, one thing as an IT professional that you should know is that BRM is both a role as well as a capability, Yeah. So it's both. It's a role as well as a capability. When you're playing the role of a BRM, then you're playing the role of a business relationship manager, which can be an appointed formal role within the organization, or it can be a role which is not there in the organization, but someone knowingly or unknowingly is playing the role of business relationship manager. And typically in IT organizations and internal business provider relationships, this role is knowingly or unknowingly played by the CIO or the head of departments at the strategic level, the project managers and the business analysts to a certain level at the tactical level, and probably the service desk managers and to a certain extent the operational team members at the operational level. So every organization in this world, based on our experience and based on my personal experience, knowingly or unknowingly is has adopted BRM to a certain level of maturity. It's just when they become more deliberate about it, the focus and the sense of urgency creeps in. Otherwise, every organization to a certain extent is following BRM capability in some or the other way. Yeah. Now, what is the difference between a BRM, a role, or capability? A role is very simple. A role is more like an individual playing this role and trying to make sure that he or she acts as a linchpin between the business and the IT function, right? And when we talk about BRM as a capability, it's a much more strategic game from an IT provider function or a business partner, where we are looking at establishing management system, we are looking at establishing behaviors, we are looking at establishing convergence culture, we are establishing certain tools, techniques, and processes in place, which where the entire business unit and the internal IT provider function focuses on BRM as a unique differentiator or as a unique capability, not based on individual ad hoc behavior, but as a team, as a business unit, as a function. They start following the principles, the processes, the methods, and the tools and techniques of business relationship management, which helps them differentiate from a strategic partner, from a transactional service provider to becoming a strategic partner. Yeah. So if you look at it, BRM is a capability. So if you look at BRM as a capability, it is everything: management structure, organization, processes, experience, knowledge and skill of the people, processes that you follow. And I think if you look at any successful or any highly effective internal IT provider function, the key difference between them is they have thought about BRM as a capability where they are not looking only at assigning a role to an individual, but they are looking at the entire management system of having people, process, tools, behavior, culture into play to make sure that they can converge with business effectively. Now that's the difference. So BRM as a role is one of the important elements of establishing the BRM capability. It is not, it's a means, but it's not the end of the goal itself. Please remember this, right? So BRM capability helps strategic partners to differentiate themselves from transactional service providers. And some of the effective building blocks I've already mentioned are a value focused management system, which purely focuses on value delivery, on what business and end consumers want, a convergence culture where the business does not work in a closed door kind of a setup and throws away the requirements over the wall, but it's an open-ended culture where the business and the IT work together as a team, synergize their efforts with the customer value as the centrifugal or the center of gravity in whatever actions they take. Right? It was value-based leadership. I think in BRM, the value system and the focus that the leader demonstrates paves a very critical role in a formal adoption of BRM capability and helps a lot of BRM related challenges from an adoption perspective to be taken care of smoothly if the leadership, both from the business partner front and the IT provider front, can determine and see the value of business relationship management. Yeah. Competent people. When I say competent people, it's not only what we mean by it's not what we only mean by people who are good in technical skills, but who have a high business IQ, who have been formally trained uh, and qualified in the fundamentals and the application levels of business relationship management competency areas. Cumulative organizational experience. As an organization, we learn together and kind of see what helps us to deliver effective value and what doesn't. Getting into a constant mode of continual improvement and value based improvements to make sure that we are helping business to achieve their end outcomes. A customer driven or agile organization structure which is not very layered, but is kind of mirroring the business enterprise departments or the functions, and the way it can deliver value to the end consumer in an agile and a lean fashion. Outcome based processes, not processes just for the documentation sake, but processes which have become kind of a DNA of the organization, are running in the blood and veins of the organization. Yeah. um, and then BRM as a role, as I mentioned, is a role, as a role. Business relationship management is a connector, orchestrator, and navigator between the provider organization and its business partner. I have certain images to do that. So, if you honestly ask me, BRM is a linchpin between the business and the IT. When we say as a connector and orchestrator, navigator, it's a very interesting word that the BRMI body of knowledge uses. When we say BRM as a connector, what it does is it makes sure that it makes sure that the the BRM role is facilitating productive relationships between the business and the IT. Right. When we're talking about orchestrator, when we say orchestrator, that means it is making sure that the key roles, the responsibilities, and the capabilities of the organizations are of the IT provider domain are focused towards or diverted towards the right way, in the right priorities that business wants to deliver, right? And as a navigator, it's basically roadmaps to business value. It helps organizations to make sure that whatever business capabilities are required to achieve the business outcome, IT capabilities are kind of roadmap mapped in a longer horizon or in a shorter horizon, to make sure that those demands are delivered effectively and efficiently to help business win on a consistent basis. Yeah. So again, the key takeaway for the slide would be that BRM is both a capability and a role, but they are not substitutes for each other. So capability is not equal to role. Role is an important part of the capability itself. Yeah, that's where we say competent people. Good. I think a couple of more slides to go. The next slide that we're talking about is talking about the house of BRM itself. This is one of the key concepts that we speak about in the BRM workshops that we conduct for our customers and for the delegates. Now, if you look at the house of BRM, there are three distinct, uh, if I can say so, images, or three distinct components of BRM, right? I think if you look at it, the first is the roof that you can see. The roof is all about the clarity of the BRM role in the organization. It basically talks about whether in the organization BRM is positioned at the strategic layer, that is, he or she is part of the boardroom from day one of the ideation and the strategy formulation, is more tactical. That means he does not have access to the boardroom, but he or she has definitely access to the meeting room of business for sure. And third is operational, where they don't have access to the meeting room yet to a certain extent, but more are behaving, or helping business achieve the operational activities done. Right. So it's very important when we establish a BRM capability within the organization, we look at the end objective that we want to achieve from BRM capability, and what role we want to position the BRM capability as a whole should be clear from day one of the transformation journey. The pillars that you see over here are the key BRM disciplines that organization should focus on, And the four key disciplines are demand shaping, exploring, servicing, and value harvesting. When I say discipline, discipline basically means are the key activities that are the key outcomes, right? I think when you're looking at the dynamics of demand and supply, right? I think these are the key activities or the focus areas that the BRM as a capability focuses on. The first one is called as demand shaping. Demand shaping is nothing but a way how you can how business can fully leverage upon the provider capabilities uh, and the services that they provide, right? So it's primarily focused on making sure that the values or whatever optimum business value is required by the business, it is delivered through the provider's services, capabilities, and products. Right. The idea is that if there's a pressing business requirement which will deliver more business value, right, and it has a higher demand, in that case that kind of demand should be more stimulated from the IT providers, and they should be fulfilled much more comprehensively rather than the demand which is more or a kind of a nice to have feature in the application rather than a must to have feature. So somewhere down the line, the business and IT provider, business partners and internal IT providers should come together and kind of prioritize on what needs to be done in terms of what will create more business value, and a kind of prioritization needs to be done where the high ticket items or the high dollar value items are given more preference, uh, both by business and partner and the IT provider rather than the low ticket items. The second is the exploring bit of it. Now the exploring bit primarily focuses on it's an ongoing process that helps in review of what are the new technologies into play, how the entire industry is panning up, what are the new business processes that can be automated. So exploring is a kind of an iterative process which primarily focuses on what are the business value initiatives, right? And which an IT provider should focus on, and try to leverage upon what technology can help uh, business achieve these business strategic business initiatives effectively and efficiently, right? The third is the servicing. Now the servicing is primarily more towards the service delivery side of it, where the primary focus is that whatever resources the internal provider has as an IT function, they are able to provide and deliver services to their customers or business partners as per the business partner expectations, right? And it ensures that the demand requirements are delivered effectively through the supply of services, and it ensures that the business strategy, the business capability road mapping, and portfolio and program management requirements are delivered on a consistent basis by the internal provider in convergence with the business partners. The last, but not the least, discipline is value harvesting, which is very interesting. The value harvesting ensures that whatever the initiatives, business change initiatives, um, that are the output of exploring and servicing in a way, uh, their their outcomes are, and their performance and their reviews are tracked. Uh, there are improvement cycles. There's a kind of matrix and measurement system in place, which makes sure that the ultimate value that we wanted to deliver is being met or not. If yes, good, how we can still improve the value delivery, be it from a time to market perspective, or be it from agility perspective, be it from cost optimization perspective, and also if it's not being meant, what are the improvement areas that we should focus on. The foundation is the most important part from an execution per se, because the foundation of the BRM competencies basically gives guidance on the execution role of the BRM. So in a nutshell, these are the roles, or these are the competencies that BRM body of knowledge wants the aspiring BRMs and people who are playing the role of business relationship manager within their organization, these are the competencies that they should focus on. Yeah. So we'll talk about them later as we move forward. Yeah. But these are some of the roles that it primarily focuses on. Okay, so these are the key competencies we just discussed that are required from a BRM perspective, and these are called the core competencies of the BRM role. This is what we call as the BRM DNA, which focuses on the business relationship management competency: develop, nurture, and advance. This is one of the key areas that we cover as a part of the business relationship management professional foundation workshop, along with the practitioner level workshop, which is called as certified business relationship managers. Now, if you look at it, these are the five skills that organization is looking at. One is the people should be masters at the BRM should be masters at strategic partnering, right? Second, they have a high business IQ. Third, they understand and they excel at portfolio management. Fourth, they have a deep understanding of the provider domain, and fifth is primarily more from a communication perspective. Yeah. So if you look at it, uh, a good and effective BRM or a business relationship manager, right, uh, will be much more than an order taker, right? They'll have their key focus area would be that they are good at forming strategic partnerships with business. And how they do that by ensuring that they have high competence of demand shaping. That means they can have a discussion with the business. They can assertively prioritize, keeping in mind the business interest in mind, what demand and what request should be given priority, and which will deliver ultimate more business value in convergence with business, and what will not, right? It also focuses uh, on credibility, right? And they are credible partners. That means they just don't do lip service. They deliver on a consistent basis and go way beyond their job of just delivering the required services, right? They also identify uh, how their products and services can help business achieve their objectives. So they are very good at these activities. The second key skill that BRM role focuses on is high business IQ. When we say high business IQ, is that I think a lot of CIOs that we meet, formally informally, has this very undertone complaint about their team members that we have come across, is that our guys are too technology focused. They have too much of a technology mindset, right? Now, ultimately, we have to understand that technology is one of the enablers or the levers which solves ultimately business problems, right? So, as a good BRM, you need to have, as a business relationship manager, you need to have a high business IQ. Now, some of the key fundamentals of having a high business IQ is talking the same language, as simple as that. A business says, I want get this thing to be done, and the moment you start using some technical jargon, don't worry, I'll use cloud for this. No, it doesn't make sense. You have to speak the language that business understands, and make sure that you kind of merge the jargons which are more business centric rather than technology centric, right? They understand their business ecosystem, the industry ecosystem, what are the financial and the non-financial drivers of the organization, right? They have a reasonable understanding of the profit and loss statement, so they have a slightly higher financial acumen as well, right? And they can also contribute to the top line or the bottom line of the organization through their ideation and through their prioritization of the IT capabilities, right? Along with business again, as we mentioned. The third is what we call portfolio management. The portfolio management function is again, portfolio is nothing but a kind of a bouquet of services or bouquet of initiatives that you're trying to drive the organization in a prioritized way based on the return on investment. So they should be able to guide, advise their CIOs to a certain extent, if the CIO is not playing this role to a certain extent, regarding what the business priorities are, and work along with the IT executive function and the business partners in making sure that the IT investments are in line and are enabling and supporting the business priorities, right? They understand the resources, the constraints that they are working with, and how they can maximize these constraints for maximum business benefits. Yeah. The third skill is that they should have excellent knowledge of the provided domain. That means they should have good service management skills. They should be very good at defining and kind of adhering to the policies and standards that organization follow. They understand the business impact these services and the technology creates for the internal business partners, right? And they are also, in to a certain extent, able to manage the interrelationship amongst various IT departments, be it the infrastructure or the application departments, in a cohesive manner with business value as the key point, right? And they should have some demand uh, shaping and demand delivery management skills as well, which will help them to make sure that as per the business requirements, the right services are delivered to the right customers in the right way. Yeah. The other part primarily focuses more on what we call the skilled in business transition management. Right. This is more towards what we call the management of change, right? So, where the entire focus is that what are the if you are driving any initiative, what are the impacted areas? Understand what are the soft and hard factors of change management, and getting the business and the IT functions ready for the business transition, right? They are ensuring making sure that what are the challenges and complexity with large scale business initiatives are there. They are skilled in managing those challenges from a moment of change. So they're basically a change agent and a change catalyst who can make sure and maneuver the organization behavior to a certain extent along with different stakeholders in a way which makes sure successful transition management happens, right? They should be able to kind of anticipate the intended and unintended effects of the transition, and kind of create a risk mitigation plan revolving around it, along with the important stakeholders such as business partners and the IT provider stakeholders. Yeah. Again, they a very important skill which is stressed a lot in BRM body of knowledge, and which is a common denominator across all BRMs that we have observed is powerful communicators. So they're absolutely powerful communicators in terms of the way they articulate, they define the business value, the way they engage the business, the way they engage the internal provider function, the way they communicate in a win-win attitude with a win-win attitude, right? They have a very they're solution obsessed rather than problem obsessed. They try to resolve problems as they can, right? And to a certain extent, they're also assertive when they want to say no to business partner, keeping in mind the larger interest of the organization. They can do that. So, as one of the key skills of a good business relationship manager that has been identified by the BRM body of knowledge is powerful communications. Yeah. Now, these are the key skills that organizations want their people to focus on when they want to have a business relationship manager. And all the workshops and the body of knowledge primarily stresses a lot on whatever we have discussed so far, the key competencies, the four disciplines such as demand shaping, exploring, servicing, value harvesting. So the body of knowledge primarily focuses a lot on these activities to make sure that the IT function just does not remain a service provider but becomes more like a strategic partner to the overall business function, yeah, or to the business partner. Now, a key question that we ask is, okay, now I understand what BRM is all about, what we want to know about it, but could you please help us where to start our journey? We are unsure about a lot of people that we have come across are even not aware that there's a what kind of resources are available to kind of upskill their learning path in the BRM journey. So this particular slide, although it's a slightly complex slide, but I'll try to make it slightly simpler by the explanation. and make sure that it adds value to you as a professional who wants to pursue uh, uh, enhancement in the BRM domain itself, skill enhancement in the BRM domain itself. So if you look at it, what kind of resources are available? I think the first axis that we have over here, think of it as the proficiency axis. That means we have three. Think of it as a proficiency axis where we have three levels. Either you are uh, okay. Think of this axis as the resources available for upskilling in the BRM space. So if you look at it from a books perspective, there are a lot of books available from BRM Institute which help you to kind of increase your proficiency uh, in the BRM domain. So if you look at it, if you are a beginner, then which book you should read? The fundamental book, and then if you're a practitioner, which book you should read? So if you're a beginner, the book that you should read is called as BRM Professional. Uh, BRMP guide to the BRM body of knowledge. This is something like a foundation body of knowledge, which kind of gives you the fundamental elements along with the application guidance on 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 the fundamentals of BRM. So, what are the core disciplines? What does the house of BRM means? What are the different types of BRM roles? Strategic, tactical BRM. How you should do good portfolio management? What is the value management process? What tools and techniques that you should use in the organization to drive the BRM capability, or depending upon a certain business scenario, which will help you to kind of form more strategic partnership with your business. That kind of fundamental and guidance is provided in this book called BRM Foundation. The second book is more on the practitioner level, which is more of a how to guide, which gives you detailed tools and techniques and methods on how you can implement BRM processes and capabilities and tools within your organization. This is called as the Certified Business Relationship Management Body of Knowledge. Yeah. The third is if you know these two things and you have been adopting BRM capability in your organization, you want more knowledge more towards the application side of things, or improving your BRM capabilities in the organization, then the third book is called as BRM Playbook, which is more to focus towards the adoption side of it and more focused towards the implementation side of it, and which kind of assumes that you have a reasonable understanding of the fundamentals of BRM, which is called as the BRM Playbook, which gives you tools, techniques on how you can drive the BRM adoption within the organization as a transformation program. What are the customer journey maps? How you should engage the customer? How should you do the articulation of the BRM capability within the organization? And it gives you specific methods which will help you drive the entire BRM capability building within your organization, right? So these are the books that are available to you, which helps you to kind of gain more knowledge as an individual if you want to know more about the BRM body of knowledge. Then there are some certifications as well, which give you a formal qualification, industry coveted qualification with regards to the industry. So if you look at it, the if you're a beginner, then there are two courses available which are not actually certification courses, but these are one-day courses which give you guidance about the BRM fundamentals and the executive brief. The BRM fundamentals is a one-day workshop which primarily focuses on uh, what are the fundamentals of BRM, what is business relationship management all about, why you should go for business relationship management capability adoption, what is the difference between BRM role and capability. It's a kind of an overview of the entire BRM concept, packaged in a one-day workshop. It does not have an examination as such, but people or delegates who attend the workshop do get the participation certificate. The other is what we call the business relationship management executive brief, which is primarily a half-day workshop, but primarily focused at the decision maker layer, the C layer, where they want to know what are the benefits of BRM, and in small self time they can link on the business drivers of BRM alignment or BRM adoption within their organization. So it's again targeted at a very specific layer, which gives them an overview or an executive overview for what BRM is and how it can create value for the organization. Now, typically, if you look at from a certification perspective, this is what is the first certification layer, which is called as BRMP Foundation, Business Relationship Management Professional Foundation certification. This is meant for people who want to kind of be the change enablers or the BRM drivers or the BRM champions in the organization, and they want to start their certification journey. This is a 3 day comprehensive workshop which primarily focuses on the fundamental elements of BRM and typically the five competencies and the four discipline areas that we just discussed in the previous slides. Right, it gives them detailed. On the third day, we conduct the exam, uh, like typical exam, and once people qualify the exam successfully, they get the BRMP Foundation qualification. The second is what we call an intermediate level qualification or a practitioner level qualification, which is called as Certified Business Relationship Manager. For this, the prerequisite is the BRMP Foundation. That means you have to have a BRMP Foundation qualification, then only you'll be eligible for the Certified Business Relationship Manager workshop. It's a very interesting workshop. It primarily focuses on a kind of an open book kind of an exam structure. BRMP Foundation is a closed book examination evaluation method, where this is an open book exam, which is where on a specific case study, your or specific case scenarios, you're supposed to apply the concepts of your understanding of BRM, and then it follows a kind of a gradient mechanism system where if you pass on the exam, then you achieve the coveted certification of certified business relationship managers. The value of these qualifications have been increasing year on year since the inception of BRM Institute in 2013. Just since last year itself, there has been almost a 27% hike in the number of people who have just enrolled for the BRMP Foundation and have achieved the BRMP Foundation certification. This shows the increasing demand of BRM qualification in the industry, and the way people are recognizing the true value of this qualification. Yeah. The last but not the least is what we call the Master of Business Relationship Management. Now, this is a qualification which is more based on your experience, demonstrated skill set, and your demonstrated ability of deploying BRM capability within the organization. It is primarily meant for people who have wealth of experience in the BRM domain itself. There are certain basic requirements in terms of the kind of workshops that you have to go for or attend the workshops, uh, and you have some basic qualifications in place as well. So it's a combination of multiple factors, but the primary denominator for Master of Business Relationship is the demonstrated experience and the relevant experience that you have of adopting BRM capability in multiple organizations, uh, is what they are trying to evaluate. Yeah. What are the online resources and events also which help you to kind of gain knowledge about it? So there's a wonderful BRM community which is called as Online Campus. This is one of the most vibrant community that I've come across in the IT space, specifically in my 17 odd years of experience. It's one of the it has more than around 4,000 individuals who have interest in the BRM domain of expertise, and there's a lot of wealthy content hosted on this. It is a paid membership. To become a member of this online community, you have to become a BRM Institute member, and then you have the access to this online campus. But if you invest in the BRM qualification, by default you are given a discount of 50% uh, on the BRMI annual subscription membership. And once you become a member of this, you by default have access to the online campus. In the online campus, there are various communities of interest depending upon industries, be it banking and financials, manufacturing, aviation, healthcare, public sector, where how these organizations are adopting BRM within their ecosystem and benefiting from it. It primarily talks about that, and people of similar or industry verticals converge together to share ideas and share their challenges and solutions that have worked for that. And then there is an annual event by which is conducted by the BRM Institute, which is called as BRM Connect, which kind of gets hold of multiple BRMs across the globe who travel to US for a 3 to 4 day seminar on sharing and collaborating about BRM best practices. Yeah. Now, these are the typical things that helps individual to grow, uh, and know more about BRM. But as an organization itself, if you want to apply the concepts of BRM, there is something which is called as application series workshop or application series uh, offerings from BRM institutes and registered partners like us, Fox IT. So where uh, their offerings are like business valuability, organization assessment, which gives you an idea how ready you are for your BRM adoption, where do you fit in. A strategic partner approach workshop, which is a kind of a tailored workshop which focuses on what should be your strategic partner roadmap if you want to become a strategic partner within your ecosystem. Then it has some application oriented workshops, which are these are highly interactive. All the workshops, be it certification driven or application driven, are highly interactive workshops, a lot of case studies, quizzes, case scenarios, which kind of make the entire learning experience more tailorable to the individual or the organization which is trying to adopt the BRM capability within their organization. So if you look at the axis, what these symbols means is that this is primarily meant for individuals. So individuals tend to benefit more from these two resources, if I can say so, whereas organizations as a whole tend to benefit if they're adopting the BRM capability from the application in the owner event. All of them are is our way. This is our way of presenting what resources are available to upskill your BRM competency in the knowledge space. Yeah, I hope this slide was useful for you. So if you look at from this, I think, just give me a minute, please. This is what we have discussed so far. Now, just to summarize, I think what we covered so far, we promised that you'll know 10 things about what that every IT profession should know about BRM. The first, what we discussed, is the BRM definition itself, that it fosters a productive relationship by stimulating, surfacing, and shaping business demand between the business partner and the internal provider. Then we discuss what is BRM. So BRM is all about convergence. It's all about becoming more of a strategic partner. It's not just a role, but it's much beyond a role. It's more of a capability that we build together as an organization to become more of a strategic partner to the organization or to the internal business. We also discuss what is not BRM. It's not just lip service. It's not just having a BRM role in place. It's not just having aligning your services, not just being happy as service provider. It's way beyond that. We also discussed the need for BRM right from level one, where the objective was to keep the IT running. Level two, where was to improve the overall IT delivery. To third, which is more of the era of digital transformation, where business wants high IQ people, high business IQ people from IT. They want their IT people to go beyond coding and supporting skills and think more like business partners, is what the need of BRM, and that's where BRM is one of the key components of the entire digital transformation uh, requirements or the drivers of business. We discussed about the house of BRM concept, where we said that there are three components, where there's one, the roof, which says what is the role, clarity of the role in the BRM organization. We also discussed what are the four key disciplines, such as demand shaping, uh, servicing, value harvesting, exploring. We also discussed the five competencies which are required to execute the role effectively. Yeah. Then we discussed about the business provider maturity model as well. Sorry, I think we didn't discuss about the business provider maturity because of the paucity of time. But the business provider maturity model is a fantastic model for any IT organization to kind of look at where they fit in the overall ecosystem. Now, this is one of the most important key concepts of BRM. Now, typically, organizations are very happy being a service provider, but when you adopt a BRM capability, you work along with your business, and the business perceive you as integral part of their business. So, as a BRM capability, being a strategic partner is the end outcome that organizations want to achieve when they invest in developing the BRM capability within the organization. So it's one of the key concepts that we should look at. We should not be happy with just being a service provider. We should try to focus on how we can move towards being a strategic partner itself. Yeah. So this was the concept of BRM. Then we also discussed about the BRM competency areas such as strategic partnering, portfolio management, business IQ regarding it. Then we also discussed about the certification path, right from foundation to master of business relationship management. And we also discuss about application path as well. If you want to adopt this as a capability, what are the tools and the resources available for you to kind of build the BRM capability ground up? Yeah. Any questions? Please feel free to ask. This is what we wanted to cover as a part of the webinar. Uh, Although the webinar was meant for 1 hour, but it's the passion that we have that it kind of stretch beyond the time. But if you look at it, you can always reach us as this address. This is my email ID, avinash.singh@foxit.com. If you want any further details regarding the BRM capability or BRM workshops, we are always there, happy to help you out. Yeah, thank you. Any questions, please? All right, since there are no questions, thank you very much for your time. I hope the webinar was of use to you and you enjoyed the 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 content. Please feel free to share your feedback at the email address uh, with us. We'll look forward to hearing from you pretty soon. Thank you very much and have a great day.